I think one of the main things it's taught me is that it's okay to be messy and that everything doesn't have to be perfect. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in real life, and that's almost impossible with scrapbooking, especially when you're getting into like stamping and mixed media and that sort of thing.
Welcome to Scrapbook Your Way, the show that explores the breadth of ways to be a memory keeper today. I'm your host, Jennifer Wilson, owner of Simple Scrapper and author of The New Rules of Scrapbooking. This is episode 182. In this episode, I'm interviewing Becky Powell Reames for the My Way series. My Way is all about celebrating the unique ways memory keepers get things done. We're excited to have Becky as the August featured artist at Simple Scrapper. Hey, Becky, welcome to Scrapbook Your Way.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you.
Yes, I am excited to chat with you today and get to know you a little bit better. Can you share some of the basics about you, where you live, who's in your family, and all that?
Yeah. So I live in Chelsea, Michigan, which is probably the opposite part of the country from where I want to live. I would love to be somewhere sunny and warm. And I
Isn't
am,
that where Jeff Daniels lives?
yes,
I
yes.
don't know how I know that, but I do.
That's amazing that you know that. Yeah, he has a theater here called the Purple Rose. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen a ton of shows there. Yeah, I see him in the coffee shop sometimes.
Fun.
He's much taller than you think,
Oh,
which is
okay, good to know.
surprising. Usually I feel like actors are shorter than you think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I am a divorced single mom of two. I have two kids who are now essentially adults. I mean, they are technically adults. My oldest is Maya, and she's 20. And then my youngest is Bailey, and she's 19. Um, and we have two rescue cats, Theo and Lilac. And at some point, they will probably interrupt me because that is their job.
Yes. Yes, I have two cats as well, so they are so good at that.
Yes, they are. Um, and I am a former elementary school teacher, and now I work in higher ed. I work at the University of Michigan for the philanthropic arm of the university.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I live in the Champaign area, so we are a fellow Big Ten school.
Yeah, I was born
And
in Champaign.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, so fun. Do you ever get back here?
I've been back, I think, twice throughout my life
Okay,
with my
sure.
parents who, wanted to go back and visit, um,
Hmm.
where I was born and where they lived. And yeah, the hospital's still there that I was born at. I can't
Very
remember the name
cool.
of it, but
Carl Hospital.
yes.
That's where my daughter was born too.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Such a
yeah.
small world.
She's only for sure. Yeah, especially this town. This is I think college towns in general are like the ultimate small world towns because there's so many people there from so many places. And then of course you have the locals who grew up there. And it's so interesting. There's somebody here who went to my high school in Texas.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
And
college
apparently,
towns.
yeah, it's fun.
I've always lived in college towns my whole life because my dad was a professor. So
Okay, cool.
yeah.
So Becky, what's exciting you right now in memory keeping?
I mean, I feel like everything is always exciting me in memory keeping. I love this hobby so much. And for many, it's not even a hobby; it's a way of life. Um,
Yes, yes.
I think one of the things that is really exciting to me these days is all the new like independent companies that are cropping up.
Hmm.
And I think of like Paper Person Shop, which she's not even that new anymore, but she was not that long ago. And now we've got Layered Life. Um, it's just really I love the big companies, but I also really like the small companies because I feel like they really stick to their voice, and I think
Yes.
that's neat. And then stamping, which is really new to me and probably nobody else, but I like
So are you talking stamping on layouts,
yeah,
making cards?
any of it. Yeah, I I never I've been scrapbooking for a long time since 1998, and I never had any interest in stamping. Back in the beginning, I feel like it was like a butterfly or a teddy bear and now there's just such a variety of stamps, um, and like that Heidi Swap style of stamping that's, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
all layered together, and, it's just really fun and cool and interesting and new to me, so I enjoy that.
I I think there's something about the stamping these days being more word, phrase, sentiment focused that's helpful to me because, abstract shapes, not abstract, but like forms like a teddy bear, it's more awkward to figure out how that's going to fit and make it look aesthetically pleasing on the page.
Yes,
And that goes for like die cuts too. We're talking about ones you receive or ones you're making.
right,
There's something we always can find a place to put a little tiny rectangle of
right.
something on our pages versus something that may be a little bit more oddly shaped.
Well, and I feel like the new I don't know if it's new, but the popularity of traveler's notebooks,
Hmm.
I feel like even those little icons that maybe would look strange somewhere on a 12 by 12 page are perfect for, a little traveler's notebook or for the people that are into like memory planning.
Hmm. That's true. That's true as well. Yeah, there's a scale difference too. Especially we have
Yeah.
so many like of those really small stamps. I'm always afraid I'm gonna lose them
Yes. I
because
know.
we've all had lost, our photopolymer stamps to the carpet and not sure quite where they landed.
Or to the cats.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The other day I found, what was I doing? I think I was emptying out a bag or was it a sweat? It was something that I had not gotten out in probably over a year. And I was like putting it in the laundry or putting it away or something. And of course, a letter sticker popped out. I'm like, oh, that's where that tea went.
I always get really disappointed when I open an old scrapbook and all of the letters are at the bottom of the page protector
Yes. Yes.
or they're,
Or I have a
missing.
basket of mini books and
Yes.
there's, all kinds of letters hanging out in the bottom of the basket.
Yeah. Yep. It's always fun.
All right. I also like to ask our guests about their memory keeping bucket list. So, do you have one story that you've not yet told but feels important to capture?
I do have a story that I have not yet told that is actually a really personal story about our family. Um,
Hmm.
and so I probably won't even go into that here, but it is it is so central to our family and our lives. Um, and I have not yet tackled it. Um, but I plan to. But as far as like, something that I would share publicly, I would love to do like a travel album of some epic vacation, like to Italy or Greece or Ireland or something like that.
Mm,
But as a single parent, it's on my bucket list, partially because I don't go on epic trips.
yeah. Yeah.
So someday, that's kind of the dream. I see all these, amazing layouts and albums that people do from their trips, and they're just incredible. And thinking about like looking back at those years and years later is really nice. So yeah, hopefully someday.
Going back to your initial concept as well, I think that there's, life is complicated and hard. And there's always this question of how much of a story do you tell or should you tell or when do you tell that? And I mean, I have some of those myself and it's something we all, I think, wrestle with in terms of who our audience is, who we think, will end up reading this someday. And is that something you want to be passed down or not?
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about.
Yeah. And not only that, but this story and the way that I would tell it is
Mm.
is not necessarily the way that, my kids would tell it.
Yes, that's true as well. I think sometimes we have to embrace that we are the storyteller, we're
Yeah.
the narrator, and that's what we have.
Yeah.
So we can of course bring other voices into the story, but we're the ones doing the scrapbooking.
Yeah. and it's interesting because, my kids are like they're night and day. They're so different from each other. And one of them
Mhm.
really loves hearing stories about, the past and funny things I
Yeah.
did in high school, or, hearing my parents talk about their time growing up or whatever. And she also loves to look through the scrapbooks. She'll just pull them out. She'll show her friends. We had them out at her graduation party, and she was showing everybody. And then my other child is just not interested, really. Um,
Oh, fascinating.
yeah. So, and ironically, the story I'm speaking of is really her story. So
Oh, okay,
makes it even
okay, yeah,
harder to think about how I'm going to tell this story someday.
that's for sure. Maybe it releases some of the pressure, though, if she doesn't have as much interest in it.
Yes, that's true.
So well, Becky, this is a My Way episode because you're one of our featured artists for August 2022. And we are excited we have a style challenge inside of our community based on your approach to scrapbooking.
Wow.
I wanted to kind of give our audience a little teaser about what makes you tick. We are talking about photos during this 2-month period. It's our photos creative journey. And so I'm curious, what has been successful for you when it comes to finding, choosing, using, or sharing your favorite photos?
So I learned from somebody on Instagram. I have a feeling it was Heidi Swap about using the favorites feature on iPhoto,
Mhm.
which has been there forever, and I've just never paid any attention to it. I'm really terrible at like actually using the features of my phone. um, and so I started doing that, but I love a large format photo. So I am constantly looking to take and use photos that I can make really big.
Mhm.
I love to print 12 by 12 photos and then just do a little bit of embellishing on them. Um, I discovered persnickety prints um, because I don't have a large format printer because they're like, $9,000. um, and um, they are great. Like the photos I get from persnickety prints, I love. Um, and I do all kinds of random sizes. Like I'll do like a 3 by 12 or, a 9 by 12 or whatever. And it's just really fun to figure out ways to work with those. Um, but then also, I use photos that are really not great. Um,
Mm.
I use photos that are blurry. Um, one of my favorite old layouts that I've actually never shared on Instagram, um, I don't think, is a kind of a profile shot of my youngest daughter when she was about 3, and it's really dark and really blurry, and you can barely see her, but I can see her personality in that photo,
Mhm.
and so I blew it up really big and used it.
I
Um,
love pictures like that. I think the ones that have uh, attachment to you, you can feel the story through the photo,
yeah,
and that's what really matters more than the perfect shot of somebody smiling.
yes, yes. I will take a candid over a posed shot any day.
Mhm.
Um, I even have my wedding photo. I'm, divorced now, but my wedding album, excuse me, we specifically looked for a wedding photographer who focused on candids more than posed. Um, and even those are large format now that I think about.
Oh, fun, fun.
Uh,
You mentioned that you started scrapbooking back in 1998. So, can you tell us how you got started? And I'm also imagining that your scrapbooking today doesn't look like it did back then.
thank goodness, no. Uh, so I have always been a crafter. I just, I love crafts in general. Um, I used to watch all the shows on TV, and I was a fan of Martha Stewart and all those things. And so I would do what I called cruising Michaels. I would go to Michaels and just go up and down the aisles and try and find new crafts to try. Um, and I discovered Creating Keepsakes magazine, and I
Mm.
picked up my first copy and I took it home, and I was like, "What is this magic?" It just instantly clicked for me. Um, and I used to kind of think about my layouts, like, because I was a teacher still at that point, like miniature bulletin boards, because I was always really into making fun, interesting, attractive bulletin boards for my classroom. And
Yeah.
to me, they were sort of the same thing, just with photos added in. Um,
Did you
but
do scalloped borders around
I
the outside?
did.
I love it.
And let me tell you, when I found scalloped scissors, boy, was I excited.
Mhm.
And so that's how my pages looked in the beginning, very, um, this icon next to this photo, next to this sticker, next to this. There
Yeah.
was no, I don't know, no finesse to it. It was just very, very basic. But I still loved it. Um, and I look back at some of those, and I still like some of them, but some of them I want to rip out and do over again. Um, and yeah, now
Would you ever do that?
yes, absolutely. I absolutely would.
Mhm.
I have this conversation often with my friends who scrapbook, and they're mostly of the no, you don't go and do old pages over again, but I totally would. I would love to take some of my
So
old photos that I have on
Mhm.
those pages that are, really dear to me photos and put them with newer products and my style now so that I could enjoy looking at them more instead of looking at them and kind of critiquing my old work, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
It does. Well, and it's hard. It's a tricky balance because there's no shortage of memories to scrapbook, and so what are the important ones, and what value, what's the real importance to you, the meaning behind it.
Yeah,
Um, if it would elevate it enough that you can appreciate it more and you feel more confident passing it down, then yeah. If not, then maybe not. So it's definitely an interesting question to discuss.
yeah, and I always feel like I've said this a couple of different places, I think. I'm never caught up, and I am 100% okay with that. I don't ever
Mhm.
want to be caught up because then what am I gonna scrapbook? Um, I love the fact that I can go back and find pictures of my kids, you know, from when they were born or very young and work on those now. Um, and I just get to revisit those memories again.
Yes, I do love that when I'm flipping through, I'm like, "Oh, wow, these are really great pictures. How come I've never done anything with these?"
Yeah.
It's such a delightful moment to find those in your library.
Yes, definitely.
So let's fast forward to today. What sizes or formats are you typically creating in, and why do you like that suite of approaches?
I kind of like all the sizes, and that's a little bit of a problem for me. Um, for the most part, I probably would say I do 12 by 12. I really enjoy the big space to create in, because I
Mhm.
like big titles and lots of embellishments, and I like big photos. So, um, for the most part, I do 12 by 12. Um, I also do the occasional 6 by 8, like when I'm doing December daily or, uh, this past year, 2021, I did my first October. I called it October occasionally because it was definitely not a daily. Um,
Mhm.
and then I recently, in the past maybe year, have started experimenting with traveler's notebooks. Um, and those are fun and they're a little bit faster for me. I'm a very slow scrapbooker. Um, and so traveler's notebooks are a little bit faster. And I really enjoy the look of a full page photo in a traveler's notebook too. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
like all the
interesting.
sizes.
That's okay. Like, I think, if you are feeling good about the things that you're creating and you don't feel overwhelmed by it, then just keep on keeping on, Like, it's only when you feel that you do have that sense of feeling behind or overwhelmed or uncertainty about what the heck am I doing here is when you should start questioning. So if you're not
Yeah,
questioning it, then go for it. Love it all.
yeah, yeah, I do. I love it all.
So, what kind of products are you completely obsessed with? Do you love everything there too?
I love, I mean, right now I'm obsessed with stamps. I cannot.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit embarrassed about how much my stamp collection has grown in the past 2 years.
I don't think you should be embarrassed because I just had this conversation yesterday with somebody else, and I have with others as well, and I look at my own stacks of stamps that haven't even been put away
Oh my
yet.
gosh.
I think there's so much more available
Yes.
because they, are um not that difficult to manufacture, and I'm sure they have a good profit margin on them, so
Yeah.
they keep selling them and more
Yeah.
designs,
Yeah.
and we just keep buying them. So,
Yeah.
I have the problem too.
When when COVID hit and we went into quarantine, I
Yeah.
suddenly had all this extra time, and so I really got into, like, watching YouTube videos and, following new people on Instagram and discovering, wow, I have this, like, sudden interest in stamping. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I bought an obscene amount over that 2-year period. But that also led me to new things, like, I discovered I've known about Close to My Heart forever, but I had never tried their inks, and so I'm
Oh,
obsessed with
okay.
those now. I absolutely love their inks.
What do you like about them compared to other inks you've tried?
So, my 2 favorite inks are Close to My Heart or Distress Oxides,
Mhm.
and Close to My Heart is it it just lays on the stamp better, I have found. I get full coverage with it,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
have a real problem with other ink, um, brands doing I can't seem to get, like, a solid stamped image, except for Distress Oxides, which are a whole different
Yes.
breed, and I love them too. I love being able to play with, water and ink and making a mess, which is difficult for me. Um, so that's been fun to learn how to be messy and um, not worry so much about like it looking perfect and clean.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely fun to experiment, especially when it's kinda outside of your comfort zone and see, like, can you push the boundaries of your comfort zone?
Yeah. And then I would say I'm also really interested in, like I mentioned earlier, some of the smaller shops. Um, I love that they're putting out things that are different. It's not
Yes.
just Christmas or Halloween or the zoo or whatever. It's things about voting and pride and just other things that people are interested in life. And so that's really fun to see those products and to use them. And it gives you a whole new expression of yourself and the people
Yes,
that
I
you're
love that way.
scrapbooking.
Yeah, I love that way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
So if we were to flip through your albums, is there something that we've noticed that you use or do on most of your pages?
Yes. And if you had asked me this a couple months ago, I would have had no idea. But I've really been trying to figure out like, what do I do a lot? What is my style? Do I have a style? Um, I love color so much.
Mm.
I use a ton of color. If I can use a rainbow product on a page, I will. Uh, I love a good title, and I love to do like different sizes, within the title, um, words in different sizes and different fonts and different colors, and stacking them really like a little puzzle. Um, and then the large format photos, like I've talked about, and embellishment clusters. I love a cluster.
Mm. Do you have any particular, like, types of embellishments you always are buying more of?
Um, I would say like the die cut embellishments that you can get in packs.
Mhm.
And then I like chipboard, and sometimes I'll leave the chipboard as is. Sometimes I'll, peel off a bunch of the layers so it's more flat. I love shiny, sparkly things, gems and glitter gels, and I don't know. I I feel like in my life, I'm so not into the sparkly, pretty, but then when I scrapbook, I love it. It's like
Yes,
it
I I love that. I think that's we can express ourselves in different ways, even though you would never, put sequins all over your house. You can
yeah,
put them on your scrapbook page.
yes. It's
So when do you typically find the time and energy to scrapbook these days?
um, I am mostly a weekend scrapbooker. I'm really, really slow. Like, I will I will sit down on a Saturday at maybe 10:30 in the morning, and I will work on one page until, like, 5 o'clock. I am just that slow. Part of it is that I just love the process so much.
Mhm.
I love figuring out, planning. I don't plan any of my layouts in advance. I will sit down and I will pick out either some product that I wanna work with or a photo that I wanna work with, and I'll go from there. And maybe it takes me, 2 hours just to figure out, like, placement of things and, "Oh, well, I like this flower here, but maybe I like it better over here." And that is so much fun for me, that slow moving things around and playing with products. Um, so typically the weekends, um, especially with being a single mom, now that my kids are a little bit older, the weekends are my kind of free time because 'cause they're off doing their thing. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
That sounds really relaxing, though. I think maybe, maybe you need to change the language around calling yourself a slow scrapbooker. Here I'm just being like, trying to, therapize on
I
I
was
am
thinking you
losing
sound
my
like
train
my
of
therapist.
Yeah, like, am I trying to, like, be your therapist here? But, maybe you're just, an intentional scrapbooker or you relish the experience of it. I think there's a lot of the way you described it is so, um, positive, peaceful, um, nourishing that putting a negative connotation on it of slow, doesn't seem to fit to me.
Yeah, that's that makes sense. And yeah, I guess I always think of myself as being slow because, I follow all these other creative
Yeah.
people who, they put out so many pages in a week and they're all so amazing. And so I thought, oh, I must just be really slow at this because I can put out,
Yeah.
1 or 2 pages a week. But um, yeah, I don't know. I just love it. And I love taking my time with it. And I also I will have on I think a lot of people like to scrapbook to music. I actually
Uh-huh.
cannot scrapbook with music on. Um, I find it really distracting, but I can scrapbook with the TV on.
Oh, interesting.
So I have a TV in my scrapbook room and I will turn it on and I will put on like old episodes of Designing Women or,
Mhm.
something like that. And I'll just let those run the whole time in the background. Um, and I'll occasionally look up and see what's happening, but it's kind of like white noise for me and it helps me concentrate.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, that's so interesting. I can listen to, like, lo-fi, just, like, chill ambient music, but I can't listen to anything with lyrics
yeah.
when I'm trying to work. But then, like, I think I watched all of, like, the first 4 seasons of Downton Abbey while scrapbooking, and
Oh
then
my
when I
gosh.
rewatched it, I'm like, "Oh my god, I missed everything because I was scrapbooking and just kinda listening along."
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's I definitely can appreciate some good white noise. I hear a lot of people listen to, like, Friends when they're
Yep.
scrapbooking, like, things that this they've seen before or just kind of a comfort zone for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's exactly. I will not put on a new show. It's got to be something
yeah,
that I've seen before.
yeah,
I also like Disney movies. I'll put on a Disney movie any day. Um,
nice.
yeah, and the ones with it's ironic. The Disney movies with music are fine for me to scrapbook by. Um,
Mhm, that's funny.
yeah, I don't know.
So, do you have any strategies that you use to stay motivated, or do you even need to use those? You sound so passionate about the hobby. Does your kind of your interest or your energy for it ebb and flow over time?
It does.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I have days, I will be so excited. My Unfortunately, my scrapbook room is the same as my office for work. And
Mhm.
so I sit in here and I look at all these products while I'm working and I just think, "Oh,
Yeah.
I just want a scrapbook." Um, and so I'll be really excited for, Friday night or Saturday to roll around so that I can scrapbook. And then it's like, ugh, I can't think of anything good to do. I have, the creative juices are like gone. Um, it can be very hard sometimes. And especially if like there's a lot going on in the world, I'm very affected by, bad news. And we've had our share of that lately.
Yes.
And that can really put a damper on my creativity for sure. Um, but I have found that if I get in that headspace, I will purposefully look for something new to try, which is how I ended
Mm,
up
I
trying
like that.
traveler's notebooks.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, I'll try like mixed media, or I'll try using punches that I haven't used in, 2 decades, um, and trying to make them current and interesting. I'll just try some new thing. Um, I also can sometimes get my mojo back by looking through photos. Um, I'll just flip through. I keep 2 of these really long IKEA bins, uh, right by my desk, and they have just stacks and stacks of photos. And I'll just kind of flip through there, and, maybe I'll find one and it'll just instantly speak to me, and I'll say, "Oh, I have the perfect paper for this," or, you know,
Mhm.
"I have this great embellishment I could use." Um, and then Instagram, of course, is a great source of inspiration for me. There are just so many really incredibly creative people on there.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, and so I'll go through there and I'll find some, somebody's layout that I like, and I'll think, "Okay, I can do a twist on that."
I love that you have, like, kind of a toolbox of
Yeah,
things that you can turn to. It's not just one thing. It's, "Okay, what's gonna work right now to get me going?" Sometimes it's novelty, sometimes it's comfort, sometimes it's, just following along and doing what somebody tells you to do. So, I love
yeah,
that we have options for that too.
yeah,
So, I'm sure over the years you've tried a lot of different techniques, and of course, you said you like all the sizes, the different formats. Is there something that you figured out though that just is not for you at all?
yes. As much as I would love to be, I will never be a memory planner scrapbooker.
Mhm.
I
Not even with all the layered stamping?
No, I know. I've tried.
Okay,
I've tried
okay.
so many times. I have so many memory planners that I've started that have been abandoned. Um,
Mhm.
and I was the same as a kid. Like, I had a diary. I don't even know how many times I started a diary when I was a kid, and I would get, like,
Yes.
4 entries in it. That it would be abandoned. Um, Memory planning is definitely one that it's just not for me. Um, and then I feel like this is a kind of a trend that was popular years ago and has really come back in full force, is shaker things. Um,
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes.
like on cards or even on layouts or, whatever. And that's just not for me. Um, I don't like shaker anything.
Oh, so interesting. I'm more into it only, like, in December daily context. It's gotta be, like,
Yeah.
something where I'm going a little bit extra.
Yeah.
It's definitely not part of my everyday scrapbooking.
Yeah. And it's funny
Those are
because
fun. I love
it's
yeah.
the perfect place to like throw in glitter and sequins, and which I love in my
Mhm.
scrapbooking, but yeah, it's just not, I don't know, something about it.
Maybe there's something about the sound of it that you don't like.
Maybe, who knows?
So do you have any organizing tips or solutions that you'd love to share? Could be from inside your scrapbooking or even something else in your home, but something that stands out as, ooh, I'd love to share that, or that works really well for me?
Um, I I love organizing. I watch all the shows. I've always been an organizer. I can remember when I was a kid, I would love to rearrange my room just so I could organize everything
Mhm.
again. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know, my big thing is bins. I have a bin for everything, and I don't just mean in scrapbooking, I mean everything. Everything in my house has a bin. I even have, like, extra bins in my laundry room that are just waiting to have things put into them.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that for me, I've learned, at least with my scrapbooking, that if I can't see it, I won't use it. Um, and so I've worked really hard to, organize my supplies so that I can see, or at least I easily know where to find the things that I want to use.
Mhm.
Um, but then I love swatch books. I love an ink swatch book. And I recently created a washi tape swatch book for myself where I took all my washi tape and divided it up by color or by theme, and then I put strips, like, I would have, like, a red washi page, and any washi that was, you know, moderately or mostly red would go I would have a strip of it on that page. Um,
That's fun.
yeah, and then I put all the pages in page protectors and just stuck them on a ring, and it helps me use them more. Because even though they were organized in the bin, in the container, I still wasn't
Mhm.
ever grabbing that container.
Mm.
And now I have this book of beautiful washi right there on my desk that I can just flip through and see if something will work.
I think those strategies, that perspective on what's really gonna work for you, you need to see things.
Yeah.
I know that the more, like, visual clutter I have, the more overwhelmed I am.
Yes.
So I don't like clear bins. I grew up, my mom loves clear bins, and she has this whole closet full of clear bins, and she buys me clear bins, and I know she's listening to this now, but I'm like, "I don't like clear bins. I like solid color bins, so I can't see what's inside." I might put a label on it. I might just know what's inside, but I don't wanna be able to see the stuff because it overwhelms me.
Yeah.
And that, like, personality trait, I think, is really important in personalizing your organization.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. And I've gone from, at least with my scrapbooking, I've gone from all of my supplies being in my little rolling tote that I just kept in a corner of the dining room,
Mhm.
in 1998, to now I have this, like, ginormous room full of
Yeah.
stuff. And so, yeah, like, working with it in the way that works best for me is imperative.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, especially the longer you do this, the more things you accumulate, the more,
Yeah.
wise and seasoned you become, the more you can tweak it and be able to say no to the new shaker die or say no to the other things that maybe are tempting or popular, like
Yeah.
memory planning. And like, no, I really can't do that. It's not going to work out.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I definitely keep looking at memory planning things, and I watch people's videos and I look at their pictures and like, oh, it's so pretty. And then how many times have I started? It probably as many as you. So I know it's not for me either.
I know, and they are so pretty. And I love the
Mhm.
layered stamping in them. Like, it's the perfect place for that.
Yes.
Come
And I
on,
love for
Becky.
the people that it's perfect for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right. So stepping back here, where would you like your scrapbooking to be in 10 years?
Um, that's a really good question. I don't know. I think I would like for my creative flow to be a little easier for me,
Mm.
but still challenging. Like, there are Saturdays where I've been working on a layout from 10:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock, and I'm
Mhm.
fine with that. And there are days where that's frustrating for me because I
Okay.
would have really liked to have made 2 or 3 layouts today.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think, yeah, I would like for my process to be a little easier. But I always get nervous about there's a saying, and I don't know who said it. There are no new ideas out there.
Mhm.
And that makes me nervous when it comes to scrapbooking, you know? Like, when all the scrapbook stores started closing and the magazines stopped, I got really nervous, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
started panic buying scrapbooking stuff online, like, "Oh my gosh, what if we lose this hobby? This is terrible. I need to have so many supplies so that I can keep doing this for the rest of my life, even if no one else is doing it." Um, and I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I'm curious how you feel about those items now.
I
Are you
still
glad you have them?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I, and that's actually one of my frustrations I have with Instagram is that we see so many gorgeous, beautiful pages, but everything's done with new product. Um,
Yes.
and I purposefully try and seek out other creatives who don't necessarily only use new product. Because I have gorgeous collections that I've never touched, and I
Mhm.
want to, but I keep buying new stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm still really happy with, everything I have, and in fact, I had a moment the other day where I could hear my mom's voice in my head, um, years ago saying, "I wish I had never thrown away that item of clothing," whatever it was, because now it's back in style. Um,
Mhm.
and I pulled out a punch that I've had, like I mentioned earlier, for like 2 decades, and it was perfect. And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I still have this. Yay me for hoarding things."
You mentioned the panic buying, and that reminds me that I still have, like, probably 20 plus Hambly transparencies that I bought before they went out of business because I was convinced that nobody was ever gonna make transparencies
Yes,
ever again.
yes, yes,
And yeah.
yeah.
So I feel you there.
Yeah. The one thing that I will never panic buy again are
Mhm.
rub-ons. I threw away so many rub-ons.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah, those
They
darn
dry
things.
out so bad. We need, like, a new storage solution for rub-ons, like,
Yes,
keep them in the freezer or something. I don't know what it is, but, um, I'm so sad about all the rub-ons that I've thrown
I
away over
know.
the years.
I know. I had a bunch of Hambly ones that I threw away.
Yeah.
Yeah, very sad.
So, Becky, what has being a scrapbooker taught you?
I think one of the main things it's taught me is that it's okay to be messy and that,
Mhm.
everything doesn't have to be perfect. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in real life. Um, and that's almost impossible with scrapbooking. Especially when you're getting into like stamping and mixed media and that sort of thing. Um, that's definitely a big one for me. Um, and noticing the little things, like I realized about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago that most of my scrapbooks were major events:
Mhm.
Christmas, Halloween,
Sure.
birthday, um, and and that I wasn't in anything. Um,
Mm.
and so I started putting myself in, and I started noticing the little things, and there are definitely influencers out there who helped with that. And then I think another one that's really important to me, that has kind of come to the forefront of my thinking about this hobby in the past couple of years is being very careful with myself around the opinion of the masses.
Mhm.
Because I can easily get sucked into, oh my gosh, this post only got this many likes. That page must be terrible. But I love that page.
Yeah.
Why did nobody like it? And I just had to stop thinking about it and not stop caring, but stop worrying myself with, you know, maybe everybody didn't like this exact thing that I did, but I love it. And that's okay. And
It really is, and I think we're learning how to find our own self-worth, self-confidence in a social age of likes and comments and shares and all that.
Yeah.
And, it gives you a little serotonin boost for every like you get, right? And so
Yeah.
they're training us um, to respond in that way. And so we have to kind of work around that to continue feeding ourselves internally, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Exactly.
challenge for sure, though.
It definitely is. And I try and lead by example with my kids, especially my youngest, who's very into social media. And so
Yeah.
gotta set the example.
Well, Becky, this has been so fun. Thank you for spending time with me.
Thank
Can you
you.
share where we can find you online and anything you might have new or coming up in the second half of the year?
Yeah. So I'm just an Instagram person. I bought I'm staring at it right now, the thing to put your phone in so that you can do videos, and have not done a single video yet. But I'm on Instagram, and I am My Happy Crafty Life on Instagram. And then I know that it will already have been released when this airs, but I am in the summer issue of Scrapbooking Cards Today magazine.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, my very first layout publication. I'm on page 68.
Super cool.
Yeah, it was very exciting for me. It's a layout of my parents, and so that's kind of cool too. I can share that with them.
Yes.
And then I'm on the Syncopation design team, and hopefully some others coming up soon. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you for spending time with me. And we're so excited to have you as our featured artist. I can't wait to see what videos you might create in the future too.
Don't hold your breath.
with your new camera device there.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. And to all of our listeners, please remember that you have permission to scrapbook your way. Before you go, this is your reminder that finishing day is coming up inside of the Simple Scrapper membership. We'll provide everything you need to make progress on your top priority. Visit simplescrapper.com/membership to see what it's like to be part of our community.